Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. All right, April 30th, right around the corner, we got the big fight coming up between Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. Man, this is going to be a good one. This is a fight that a lot of us have been looking forward to. Everybody wants to see when two dudes who are at the top of their game are willing to test each other. And we got the young guy in Shakur Stevenson stepping up, 24 years old, looking to continue to make his name at 130 pounds. And we got Oscar Valdez. He's like 30 years old, and he's just looking to hold off the challenge from the young guy. I think this is going to be a situation where we see the phrase styles make fights really come true. On the one hand, we've got Shakur Stevenson. Look, you watch this blood, sweat, and tears preview coming up for this, and one thing that stands out immediately about Shakur Stevenson is the fact that he's not lacking for confidence. He is extremely confident in his abilities. And one of the things that he said in the build-up to this fight was, I've been in there with the absolute best. I know how good I can fight. I know what I can do. And then you hear stories about he's sparring with Terrence Crawford, and he's working with this guy, and he's working with that guy. And you can understand the kind of confidence that that's going to bring. Even though he's young, even though he's 24 years old, even though when you look at his professional resume, it may not have, that he's been fighting the most tremendous guys you can imagine for the last 10 years. Right? He's too young for that. So you think, where's this kind of confidence going to come from? Well, it's coming from all the stuff he's been doing in the gym. It's coming from the amateur background. It's coming from just the things that you don't necessarily see that make the camera, that the public's aware of. But he knows what's going on. He knows the guys that he's talking to who are seasoned in the game, who are telling him, man, you're tremendous, you're doing this, you're doing that. So that confidence is coming from somewhere that's legit. And it is just dripping off from him in every way. The other thing that I really like about that you saw in that build-up in that preview was that the first thing that he spoke about was his ring IQ. He didn't talk about power. He didn't talk about speed or athletic gifts. He didn't talk about how good he was with his footwork necessarily. He spoke about ring IQ. And I love that. And I love that because that's the thing that's going to go last. You know how everybody says power is the last thing to go for a fighter? Really, truly, the last thing to go is your IQ in the sense that it never goes, right? That's the thing that you carry with you forever. That's the thing that you try to find. Typically, you try to find that balance. When you're young, let's say 21, 22, 23, you're at this physical prime, this absolute just athletic peak, but you don't have the experience. You don't have the knowledge to go with it. By the time you're 37, 38 years old, you're incredibly wise. You got a lot of knowledge from all those years in the game, but at this point, your body's starting to fail. Physically, you're not as good as you are. So you hope to catch that marriage between the two when they're at their peak. I don't know, maybe you're 30, 31, 32 for the average guy or something, right? And then you try to ride that out as long as you can. But when you see a guy who's so young, who's speaking about ring IQ already and not out there just relying on his athletic prowess, on his physical skills, that says something. It says something about who's training him. It says something about the people he's around. It says something about his mindset and where he's going to go. So I was really impressed with that. And you can see that he fights that way. Because look, if I had to use one word to describe Shakur Stevenson, it's a sniper. He's not going to go out there and overwhelm you with his work rate. He's not going to go out there and try and land every shot with some devastating, thudding power. But he is a sniper. He uses the footwork and the timing, the way he's able to control the distance. I like that nice, long, wide stance that he takes so that he takes up a lot of area. Beautiful right hook. Love the way he delivers that right hook. You're seeing him counter with it all the time. Love the way he can pull back and throw that left hand. Or he'll just catch the time and catch you in the in-between movements and throw that straight left in there and just rock you with it. He's got great awareness. His eyes are great, pays attention to everything. Good jab when he wants to use it and work behind. He doesn't mind walking forward, walking a guy down and coming forward, but not necessarily throwing punches. So applying pressure without punching. At the same time, he can let a guy come forward, try and set some traps and use some feints and counter him. Just really impressive all the way around. Also has very fast hands. Has very fast feet when he wants to use them, but also is in front of a guy and using not too much movement and very subtle movement because he always wants to be in position to be able to hit you with that counter. So very well schooled, very well seasoned. Now, Oscar Valdez, very good fighter, man. Very good fighter. I mean, it's no surprise that when I say the best fight that we've ever seen him in, when he's been at the peak of his game, is when he fought Miguel Berchelt. He even said it in the build-up of this fight. He's like, man, I could have beat anybody that night. I can just imagine that feeling he had when everything was clicking, everything was on, because that's how it looked to me when you watch the fight, right? When you look at that fight, he was at 110%, right? Whatever him and Eddie Reynoso have been working on for the last, 5 fights going into that one, that was where it just all clicked. Everything was on fire. All the cylinders, the nutrition, the weight cut, the understanding of the game plan of what his opponent was going to do. It was on point that night. And the thing about it, really, truly, that brought it all together for me was the jab. The jab, right? The most fundamental punch in boxing. And it was because he was able to land it. He goes in, he's at a 5-inch reach disadvantage, but he's still able to get his jab off. And his footwork was so good. It was so smooth. He was able to get in there, close the distance, land the jab, get back out before Burchell was able to really mount anything, before he was able to get his counters off, before, Valdez is on the outside. He's using movement, closing the distance, doing it again. He's able to turn it into left hooks at times. Just great stuff all the way around. Now, flip that one fight later. Not able to get the jab off. He's fighting an Olympic gold medalist in Conceição. And actually, in the beginning of the fight, Conceição was the one who's getting his jab off. Valdez isn't able to really get anything going. Everything's just a little bit off. He's just a little bit behind. He's like, oh, it really wasn't my night. Now, what did he do? He was able to come out with the victory because he adapted. He was able to come out with the victory because around, 4th round or so, something like that, he starts walking forward, starts being more aggressive, and starts just landing, throwing hard shots, hard left hooks, hard right hands, and just starts to wear his guy down and be aggressive that way. So I love the fact that he was able to make that adjustment. I love the fact that he was able to come out there and figure out a way to find a victory when his first plan wasn't working, because the guy he came out, he was too slick, he was too skilled, he was too fast, whatever it was, you weren't able to get off. He was. Got to find a way to change the flow of the fight, and he did. So good for him. But here's the thing. If I look at those 2 last fights kind of as just a microcosm of his style, because I think he's one in which is built around the jab. When he's, you look, ever since he's been working with Eddie Reynoso, this is going to be his 7th fight with him. He's switched up since then. He's become a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more, or a little bit like just raw, a little bit less raw aggression, a little bit more patient, a little bit more discerning in his shots. Tries to throw more, the shots that he does throw, he tries to throw with more power, right? Doesn't want to go out there and have a super high work rate. That's not the way he's going to beat you. Very comfortable backing up and looking for counter shots and using little feints, and also coming forward and applying pressure and working that way. No problem throwing wide shots, hard hooks and things like that. Those are all the things that you've seen kind of change a little bit since he's been working with Eddie Reynoso. But at the end of the day, I would say that his success is built on the jab. He's only able to get everything else working when he's able to start landing that jab, right? There's an old saying in boxing: how are you going to hit a guy with a right hand if you can't hit him with a jab, right? And it's because the jab is, in theory, the easiest punch to get out there and get going. Guys build their entire game off it, and I think that's what we see with Valdez, right? Everything is kind of built off that. In his last fight with Conceição, when he was not able to land that jab, it's when he had to make the adjustment. Now, he was able to do it, but what if he's not able to land that jab against Shakur Stevenson? Is he going to be able to just start walking Shakur Stevenson down and landing those hard shots? I doubt it. Because when he tries to throw those hard wide shots, those hard hooks, he leaves himself open. Shakur Stevenson, he's a little bit taller, like an inch taller, like an inch or two with the reach, so nothing significant there. But he is a master of distance, man, already at 24 years old. A master of distance. And I love the fact that he takes that nice wide stance, because that actually eats up a little bit of ground from his opponent. He's he's a southpaw, so a guy with orthodox is coming in there. He's not really quite as used to the foot placement and the footwork on how he's going to get out there. Then you got the wide stance on top of it. He fights tall, he fights long. Oscar Valdez doesn't quite fight as tall and long, and he's more comfortable moving into that mid-range, trying to throw his shots. So if he doesn't get that jab going, I think it's going to be real trouble for him, because I think he's going to be wide open for counter shots, wide open for that left hand all night long. So can he get that jab going, right? Because I think that'll be the key to him getting this victory. And I think it's going to be tough, because he was able to get that jab going on Burchell because he's got quicker hands. He was able to get that jab going because he had quicker feet, and he was able to control the distance and get off his shots. And I think it's going to be really tough for him to do that against Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson has the quicker hands. He's got the better timing and the better positioning. At the end of the day, Vegas has got it right on this one. Stevenson's like a 6-1 favorite. I think he comes out. I think he looks really impressive. I think there's going to be times when Oscar Valdez shows little flashes here and there. But he's kind of going to get shortchanged in this fight because he is a very, very good fighter. But Shakur Stevenson is something else, man. I really believe, looking at this guy, that he has got all the potential in the world. I am super high on him. I can't wait to see what he brings to the table. And styles just kind of make fights. So he's got this situation where, he could go out there and he could look incredibly impressive against Valdez and maybe not quite as impressive against somebody else. And Valdez can go out there and get, kind of dominated in this fight, but still be able to, blow out everybody else in the division, let's say. Not making that prediction, I'm not saying that, but just as an example, it's one of those things where you could look really bad in one fight, but it's just a horrible matchup for you, horrible timing, everything else. And in a way, I kind of think this is going to be that one. I think Shakur Stevenson is going to come out there and look incredibly impressive. I'm expecting, his last two fights, goes in there against Nakatia, goes in there against Jamal Herring, continues to get better, right? Just beautiful stuff in those fights. Now I think he's going to go in there against Oscar Valdez. I think he's going to look at another level yet. I think he's just continuing to grow, continuing to get better, continuing to get smarter, embrace everything that's kind of going on with him. Man, loving what I'm seeing and just really excited about the future. So, let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is going to be a little bit tougher fight? Do you think there's a chance Oscar Valdez could he's got more than a puncher's chance and he could really pull it out? Or do you think this is just the Shakur Stevenson show, man, and this is just going to be, we're all sitting there with our popcorn, can't wait to see what the man brings. Let me know what you guys think.